We will have a great morning session on effective research collaboration. My name is Sebastian Den Bak, and I'm Head of International Policy at the Dutch Research Council, NWO. And I will be one of the moderators, and the other moderator will be Pak Arthur. Can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. Hello, everybody. My name is Arthur Lolono from Indonesian Institute of Sciences. We'll be acting moderator together with Pak Sebastian, and I hope we can have a very fruitful discussion afterwards. Thank you, Pak Sebastian.
Thank you so much. This is a great opportunity to be a co-host in an online seminar. I must admit, it's my first time to do that via Zoom, and it's great to do that with you, Pak Arthur. And we have a great keynote speaker. We have a fantastic panel, and we will have a fruitful discussion in the coming hour. We will discuss effective research collaboration, and behind me you see a scene where there was made a start in effective research collaboration in March this year. Just before Corona, we had the great state visit of the King and Queen of the Netherlands to Indonesia. And behind me is Universitas Gadjah Mada in Yogyakarta, where we launched a bilateral call for research collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands. And we hope that will be very effective. But how do you measure that? How do you improve research collaboration? What are the ingredients? That's where we will be discussing about this morning and this afternoon at the same time. It's a miracle. We will start with our keynote speaker, and that is Mr. Agus Haryono from the Indonesian Institute of Sciences, well known as LIPI, and he will present us a presentation on the topic towards more effective research collaboration. He will share his slides with everyone, and please, Pak Agus, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sebastian and Pak Arthur, for the opportunity for me to present. Good morning and also good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to each of you for being here today at this important talk show webinar on towards more effective research collaborations as a series of the Week of Indonesia Netherlands Education and Research winner 2020. My name is Agus Haryono, Deputy Chairman for Engineering Sciences at Indonesian Institute of Sciences. It is such a great honor for me to speak as a lead speaker in this wonderful occasion. Let me begin by giving you a warm welcome to this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's webinar, we are going to explore the importance on establishing research collaborations, especially international research collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands, because as we know, science is internationally or global challenge. There is no country in the world can control the marketplace of the ideas in developing sciences. It is also important to choose an appropriate collaborator among the researchers with diverse but complementary perspective, and that they can create the common goals. And as we know, nowadays, the multidisciplinary collaboration is very important, of course, with the common goals. It is also important when we are creating research collaboration in the initial stage. Each member has their own important role in participating in the research collaboration and exchange and sharing the research resources, working packages, sharing the funding, and other responsibilities. And last but not least, it is very important that we have to create a good communications and trust and also respect, because that is the basic requirement in order to establish good research collaborations. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to create an effective research collaborations, we need to build the strategy so that our collaboration will be a long time and sustainably accelerated. The first strategy is how to choose an appropriate collaborator. This is seems easy, but we need to have the methodology to choose the appropriate collaborator. The second strategy is how to bridge the common needs and common goal from both sides of the collaborators. And the third strategy is how to share the interest and benefit from both sides. This is very important because if both sides have benefit from the collaboration, then the collaboration will be long time and sustainable. And the fourth strategy is also quite important. That is how we can balance in negotiation and compromising during the negotiation of resource sharing, authorship in the publications, data management, intellectual property right. Of course, we need balancing in the compromising, not only strong negotiation, but also how to balancing with the soft compromising. The fifth strategy is how we can select and decide the leader, co-leader in the collaboration team. And also we need to set the role clearly for each member. What is the task of each member in the collaboration team? And the last strategy is how we can secure the communications among the collaborator members. Because if we don't have good communication, we cannot guarantee the collaboration will be long time and sustainably. With these all strategies, we hope that we can create long time and sustainable collaborations. Before I'm finishing this presentation, I would like to express my appreciation to 4 panelists that present today. Mr. Iqbal Mukti, PhD student in the University of Twente, will talk on the research collaboration from PhD student perspective. Mr. Tim Zwakstra will talk on how to train pre-doc student that to be ready for building the research collaborations. And Professor Kerstin and Dr. Puspita Lisdianti will talk on their experiences, problem solutions, their best practices, and lesson learned during research collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands. I also would like to invite all of the audience and encourage your comment and suggestion on how to increase the number of research collaboration between Indonesia and Netherlands, how to solve the problem during the research collaboration, and how to make an effective research collaboration. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Thank you. Let's discuss and give your ideas towards effective research collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Agus, for your opening presentations. I think, like Pak Sebastian said before, Indonesia and the Netherlands has a long relations and history, and now we can strengthen that relations with many potential collaboration, research collaboration between 2 countries. I like in this one, I would like to invite maybe I would like to first Pak Tim Zwakstra maybe can share about how, in the aspects of the pre-doc students to be ready for the building research collaboration. This is very interesting because we have the preparation of before the doctoral, and then we can later on discuss about the best practice of the collaborations later on with Professor Kristin from University of Medical Center Utrecht. Maybe I'll give the first time to Pak Tim, maybe for giving any comments and regarding this, how can we develop more collaborations of these potential research collaborations. Time is yours, Pak Tim.
Yes, thank you, Pak Arthur, for your kind words. I am here as a staff member of the University of Groningen, but representing a consortium of universities from the Netherlands who have been working on a better context for PhD candidates to succeed in the Netherlands. The other partners are Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam, Leiden University, and also NHL Stenden University from Leeuwarden. What we have designed is a pre-doctoral course, 1 week on location in Jakarta in the Erasmus Training Center. Prospective and aspiring PhD candidates from Indonesia receive a training in academic English writing, as well as academic competencies, also the soft skills involved in the PhD, and a small Dutch crash course to prepare them for coming to the Netherlands. The reason we are doing this is by moving this pre-departure, we can raise the quality of their expectations, so they come to the Netherlands with the right image of what they're going to be doing, hit the ground running, so to speak. Also, this clears up space for them, because quite often in these first crucial months, to have such a course post-arrival would take away their energy and attention from other things. And in doing so, we create a better context for the PhD candidates to succeed in the Netherlands. Now, why is this so important? I think a large component of the increase in research collaboration over the last decade has come from PhD candidates coming in great numbers from Indonesia. And upon their return to Indonesia, they will become the engines for the future collaboration. They bring their networks, they bring their senior scientists, and they bring their own future to the collaboration. So in that respect, creating a better context for this large investment by the Indonesian government in scholarships, etc., is for us very important in securing the sustainability of research collaboration. And that, in a nutshell, is what we try to do in our consortium with the Erasmus Training Center.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Tim. I mean, like you mentioned before, the preparation started from the pre-doctoral there, and for the later on, they can bring their senior scientists, research collaborations to Indonesia using their historic in studies from the Netherlands. Maybe I would like to hear about the best practice, maybe from Professor Kristin. Maybe how can you share those best practice of this research collaboration, maybe on your side, especially from the Netherlands side, before later on we can discuss it from the Indonesian side. Thank you. Time is yours. Can you still unmute the microphone, Professor Kristin? Still cannot hear you. Could the IT could unmute Professor Kristin microphone? Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. No, thank you very much, Arthur, for the nice introduction. So I'm representing the University Medical Center Utrecht. And the University Medical Center Utrecht has a long-term collaboration with a number of Indonesian institutions. And our starting point has always been to invest in research capacity building. where initially together with the University of Oxford, then the University of Universitas Indonesia, and University in Malaysia, we've been setting up a large-scale program to support the development of clinical epidemiology at Universitas Indonesia, which has then led to setting up a center on clinical epidemiology and evidence-based medicine at the University Hospital Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital. Since then, we've been continuing to invest in research capacity building, mainly through training of Indonesian PhD students in a way of sort of a sandwich program where our junior colleagues in Indonesia have used their own setup, their own research topics, their own resources, their own populations within clinical settings, but also population-based settings to carve out their research topic with support then from Dutch colleagues. So working very much towards developing then shared research that is very much responding to local questions that are relevant then in the Indonesian context. And then from the Dutch side, providing also support with regard to research training and methodological advancement with a very, very strong focus in epidemiology and public health. Now, currently, we are engaged in a large-scale, also European Commission-funded program that we do call Healthy, Epidemiology, Blended Learning and Capacity Building in Indonesia. And next to Universitas Indonesia, also the University of Hasanuddin in Makassar, the universities of Gadjah Mada in Yogyakarta, universities of Pajajaran in Bandung, next to European universities are involved. And there the focus is also very much on strengthening then the education in research methodology to allow junior researchers to develop their expertise, to engage in research activities, and then to grow within their own institutions expertise to invest in research activities and to support institutional research capacity building, which we do regard as a very, very important aspect to stimulate and to maintain research collaborations over a long period of time. And that, of course, is also what we all want to achieve, to develop long-term sustainable partnerships and assisting our institutions, but also our partner institutions in developing enabling environment for scientists to take forward their research endeavors.
Okay, thank you, Professor. There's a lot of histories about your best practice of these collaborations. Yeah, before we can discuss more, I would like to invite Pak Sebastian later on. Maybe you can for this session for the Pak Iqbal and maybe Bu Puspita. Go on, Pak Sebastian, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Pak Arthur, and we will continue with our panelists from Indonesia, and I have the honor to invite them. We already talked about how to make a sustainable collaboration, and that also has to do with the topic of impact. And somebody who is thinking about how to make the most of the impact of your research and of the time as a PhD is Pak Iqbal Julisar Mukti. He is a PhD candidate at the University of Twente in the Netherlands, and he is working on the research topic reference architecture of IT service platform to improve rural citizens' economic welfare. Well, that is already a societal relevant question and topic, and Pak Iqbal will talk about the impact of his research and his time in the Netherlands doing research. So please, Pak Iqbal, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sebastian, and thank you all for having me here. This is an honor for me to be involved in this discussion. So as Sebastian said, I'm a PhD in the University of Twente, and I am here representing a team of LPDP awardees comprising of Mr. Adrian Pramono, a PhD graduate from Maastricht, and Novika, PhD student from Rotterdam, that is in the attendees. Having said that, I will contribute my discussion from the perspective of PhD student, especially from scholarship-funded student. As it mentioned by Sebastian, I'm a PhD student with scholarship from LPDP. For you that don't know, LPDP, I want to highlight a bit here. LPDP is Indonesian Endowment Fund for Education, in which funded the study of students in university across Indonesia and across the globe. And in the Netherlands itself, there are 251 PhD candidate from the total 313, and more to come. So having said that, this is very important to involve LPDP in a deeper research collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands. Because PhD in the Netherlands is by research, a bit different from a PhD in Indonesia or other countries that follow US style, so to speak. So as Sebastian mentioned, PhD research could be an arena that can provide a significant impact through the research. Let me explain a bit a challenge of the current PhD research, especially from scholarship-funded student, that there is a disconnection or misalignment between the research that the student conduct and the real problem, and also the problem owners. So that's why when the PhD graduated, when they come back to Indonesia, for example, the research that they are doing, that they are done, not giving significant impact, real impact. There are cases from my colleague where from a PhD funded scholarship, in the beginning there is no initial collaboration between the problem owner and the researcher. So while they are doing their PhD, when they need to obtain data, for example, for their research, to validate their methodology, to validate their model, they have difficulties in finding their partner there, because there is no initial partnership in the beginning in conducting the research. And so it takes time, and it make the PhD study take a longer time than it expected. And when they finish their PhD, since there is no initial commitment from the problem owner, so to speak, the result of the PhD cannot embraced by the problem owners. That's why I strongly suggest for LIPI, NWO, or Ristek Brain to collaborate with LPDP in order to identify research area that need to be solved by PhD research, and define it as a work package, somehow as similar to the approach of PhD study in the Netherlands. And then PhD that is applying scholarship to LPDP is targeting to the research project that defined by LIPI in collaboration with LPDP or NWO. In such a way, there is initial collaboration between the problem owners and the researcher, in this way PhD. In such a way, it can, the process of PhD itself can be more effective, because there is a certain partner for data gathering or validation. And after the PhD is done, the result can be embraced by the stakeholders because the problem owners get involved. In such a way, the impact can be realized better. I mean, the likelihood of the impact to be realized is higher. So yeah, so that's my key message. So, thank you, Sebastian.
Terima kasih, Pak Iqbal. Thank you so much for your contribution. I will now give the floor to our fourth panelist, which is Dr. Puspita Lisdianti. She's a senior researcher in the field of microbiology and biotechnology, and she works at LIPI. And she works also as a director of the Research Center for Biotechnology at LIPI since 2019. And I also have here on your introduction slide your research interest, which is a very long sentence, but I will try anyway. Your interest is the exploring the microbial diversity, whole genome sequencing, and elucidating the potential uses of the microorganism for health, agriculture, and environmental purposes.
Thank you, Sebastian.
That's a mouthful. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sebastian, and then all of our audience of this webinar from Winner. In my experiences, the aim of conducting research collaboration is to get funding, but it's after I'm as a researcher, I need funding, research funding to conduct research. Why I need research funding? Because with research funding, we can create innovation and then also invention. Yeah, and then also in my experiences also, if we have a more effective research collaboration, we need to explore and exploit what we have. As mentioned by Pak Iqbal, yeah, I see that before students go to abroad to study PhD, you need to know what is the problem in research in Indonesia. I think it's also important. And then I know that there is a rule of LPDP scheme that before you, after you get a master studies, and then you have to go to PhD to go abroad, you have to work at least 1 year in a research institute. I think it's also a good idea how to make the common goal, for both. And then also, in my what is the problem? The mainly problem that I in my experiences, for to make effective collaboration is communication.
I think we lost Dr. Puspita at the moment. I hope she will be coming back. I think it's the internet connection. Now her screen is, I think, gone. Hopefully she will
for the first.
Yes, please, Pak Arthur, go to the first Q&A, and when Dr. Puspita returns, then we can give her the floor again.
Okay, that'll be great. Okay, please, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to give a question, please use the Q&A rather than the chat. The first question, Q&A, maybe delivered to Pak Agus. Pak Agus is still here with us. This is coming from Parabellum Tino Dol from PAS from University of Negeri Manado, Indonesia, asking how to manage the collaboration as U2U, U2G, and G2G. Pak Agus? I think Pak Agus is also out. Okay,
maybe the technicians can bring everybody back in the plenary session here.
Okay. If you can start to this second.
I also don't see Dr. Kerstin and Tim anymore. So
I can see Dr. Kerstin and Tim here.
Okay, so maybe I can take that question. Huh? So
okay, sure, please.
I think as a student, of course, students may be most aware of the research that is undertaken by their own institution. In that regard, they could then also research themselves in how far there are already links between their institution and, for example, then Dutch universities, and could explore what research topics are also then covered by this research collaboration, and then get actively in contact, maybe first with their own colleagues on the Indonesian side, and then in addition with colleagues on the Dutch side, to express interest in the work that is already undertaken, and to investigate in how far there may be opportunities to embed potentially PhD research into the research collaboration. And our own experience is that if you have an existing research collaboration that is well established, it is generally possible to embed additional research projects, whether they are on master level, whether they are on PhD level, whether they are on postdoctoral level. And I think the latter is especially important because for the PhD students that we jointly train, we would also want to open up opportunities for them in the future to continue doing research on a postdoctoral level, so as to assist them also in becoming research leaders in their own field.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kerstin. Maybe any question from Sebastian? I think there's still questions from, let's see, Shanas, yes. Natasha, I can continue with that.
Yes, absolutely. And please, if we raise a question and you want to respond from the panel, please unmute yourself and ask for the floor, because it's also nice to have interaction between the panelists if possible. So the second question is, I think, very interesting. It's the question is from Shana Natasa, and she asks, could you elaborate more on how to start research collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands from the student perspective? And then she asks further, who should we contact first? How is the procedure to do collaboration? Do we have to apply for LPDP scholarship? And what if we are already enrolled in a Dutch university or institution? So that's a lot of questions in one, but how to start the research collaboration is, I think, the key question there. Who can I give the floor to?
Could I answer that one, Sebastian? It's a question we get a lot. What is the smartest pathway to a research career in the Netherlands, research training? I mostly respond from what I see in practice, and this is that most aspiring researchers come to the Netherlands as a PhD candidate on an Indonesian government scholarship. So it is, of course, possible to also compete with the positions that are available in the Netherlands from our own means. But when we look at the numbers, then the smart move is to apply for the LPDP scholarship or any other scholarship that might be available. About the order of things, it is very possible to first apply to a Dutch university. And once you have your letter of admission, your chances of being considered for a scholarship, of course, increase. So that would be my response to Natasha's question.
Thank you, Tim. And I think it's a very good advice, also in the sequence of what to do first. Maybe Pak Iqbal, can you tell us from your own experience, how did you end up in Enschede?
Yeah, sure. This is a very interesting question. So before answering that question, probably it is better to explain that PhD in the Netherlands is PhD by research. It's a bit different with the PhD in Indonesia or in the US or other countries that is US style. In Indonesia or in the US, there are there are courses, formal courses that PhD need to take before they start with his or her dissertation project, right? But in the Netherlands, you start directly with the research. So the research is fully, the PhD is fully by research. And with that regard, there are, as mentioned by Tim, there are two ways to enroll in a PhD, at least two ways to enroll a PhD in the Netherlands. Since PhD in the Netherlands is, we have an employee status as a researcher. So PhD is a position, is a research position in which we can apply. So the university in the Netherlands will post a PhD position, and we need to apply and compete with a master student graduate from practically over the world, right? And from my experience, I don't know if it's true, but in the University of Twente, the likelihood, if you want to get a PhD position in the university, you can get a higher likelihood if you graduated from a Dutch university as well, or overseas universities. So in my case, I'm graduated from Indonesia, from ITB, both bachelor and master. So it's a high competition for me to enroll a PhD position in a staff position, right? So I applied through LPDP, and in the case for LPDP, because Indonesian scholarship from the government, I think it will be managed centrally. The trend is managed centrally by LPDP. Previously, scholarship for lecturer managed by the other department, but now integrated in LPDP as well as the civil servant. So from LPDP point of view, to apply for a scholarship, you need to have some sort of research topic, and then there is two ways you can apply your research topic to LPDP, and then you get accepted, and later you get the LOA from the university, or the other way around, which is better. In my case, I discussed with the professor at the University of Twente by email. So I emailed her. We discussed, I'm interested in the topic in which you are currently doing, and I propose a research proposal that is relevant to the topic. And then there are process that took like 6 months or so. And then I get the letter of acceptance, and then I apply to LPDP and get the scholarship. So that's the way to get the scholarship from LPDP. Yeah, there's also a concern from scholarship from LPDP because a PhD by project in the Netherlands, they do a PhD on a work package, right? So NWO, for example, NWO, you call us way, right? So NWO collaborate with the industry, for example, and create a work package, and the PhD apply to the work package. And since there is a work package, the stakeholders, there is the stakeholders of the problems own the problems and collaborate and open for collaboration with the PhD candidate that doing the research, right? On the other way around, in PhD from the scholarship, from LPDP, for example, there is no such thing. I mean, there is no work package thing for the PhD. So in that case, it can be a challenge for the PhD student, especially in getting the data, in validating the model, kind of things that need a partner from the real world, for example. So in my case, I'm considering to be lucky because from the very beginning, I get a support from the West Java government, especially from the information department, from the head of the information department itself. In such a way, I can get easier to get the data, information, or case study object, something like that. But I mean, not all the PhD candidates get that kind of lucky, you know. So in such a way, I'm strongly suggest for LIPI or for NWO to collaborate deeply also with LPDP to design a priority of research area. So we can create a similar form of work package. So LIPI can prepare the work package and LPDP can fund it, the research. So there is a mutual collaboration there. And it can be beneficial. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I saw a hand of Dr. Kerstin. Do you want to add?
Yeah, thank you very much, Iqbal, for mentioning how actively you engage with a colleague at the university you are currently based in the Netherlands. And you put forward that you have a shared interest. Huh? And I think, it is this shared interest that is then also driving the development of research collaboration and sustainable research collaboration. And because of that shared interest, then your supervisor at the moment then may also be interested to open up new PhD opportunities for Indonesian students and other students internationally to work on that particular research topic. And I think, that's a very important aspect for all of us to look at what are our shared interests to invest into building up a research collaboration and to ensure that we can sustainable develop it in the long term. And I think, that would also be my advice then to juniors who would be interested in undertaking a PhD in the Netherlands, and I think, that is an important means of successful research collaboration to work towards undertaking research both in Indonesia and in the Netherlands. So to directly then share experiences and apply learnings to both the Netherlands and in Indonesia.
Can I add something?
Respond to the topic that was raised just now. It's not always the case that a work package has been assigned by an external source. In fact, in Groningen and other universities, there is also the process of discussing, just as Mas Iqbal was just saying, with the professor, but in much more of a two-way traffic in which the prospective candidate is asked to bring forward their own topic from their own context, so that we in the Dutch university may challenge this context with what we have learned so far on the topic. But in that way, we introduce much more demand-driven research performed by PhD candidates. In Groningen, the approach is worked out in a center that we have, the Southeast Asia ASEAN Center, and its focus is on contemporary societal issues in Indonesia and wider Southeast Asia. And in fact, that model, which is also practiced elsewhere, has proven successful in creating, for example, policy papers as a component of the dissertations of the PhD candidates. So where we speak to impact of research on Indonesian society, we might also improve it by choosing the topic from an issue that is relevant to Indonesia, and then asking the candidates to devote one chapter of the dissertation to policy implications. And this can then be used in Indonesian governance contexts, for example.
Okay, thank you, Tim, for the comments on the latest. I would like to continue this problem for the next questions. And the Q&A box, there was two similar questions from Intan Noviangsi about what I'm interested to what Mr. Tim said, that the research collaboration can also generate the increasing of investment collaborations in the future. Is there any national policy in the Netherlands to encourage the private sector to include the research collaborations and that investment planning? And also, is there any agency organization that can bridge the Indonesians and the Netherlands institutions? Maybe we'll deliver this first to Pak Agus. Maybe you can later on with questions.
Yes, Pak Arthur, thank you. I'm sorry, because the problem of the internet in the hotel, I use my cellular phone for this talk show.
Welcome back.
And yes, for the national policy to increase the research collaborations, nowadays the LPDP together with the DP, Indonesian Science Fund, has establishing the International Research Collaboration Fund that can be participating by Indonesian researcher that willing to have the international research collaboration. And some of the young researcher has been successfully get this funding for establishing new research collaboration. And also LIPI also providing funding for invite postdoctoral student or postdoctoral or visiting researcher to come to LIPI. The funding is provided by Pak Arthur, I think. And this is also the initiative from LIPI or from government, because we have to get the permission from Ministry of Finance to have this kind of funding is available. And fortunately, from next year, we will have the funding for inviting senior researcher and postdoctoral to come to LIPI. And this is, I think, the initial stage for creating new research collaboration between Indonesia and other countries, especially from the Netherlands. Thank you, Pak Arthur.
Thank you, Pak Agus. Questions you want to take?
Yes, I will take the next question, and it comes from Roald Leberik. In times of COVID-19 and travel restrictions, how do you see the potential for engaging local Indonesian research institutions and or Indonesian students for conducting local fieldwork? Fieldwork can take many forms, but what general recommendations would you have in terms of supervision and communication? Well, that's not an easy question. I don't think anyone in the panel has the complete answer or solution to it, because we are in very uncertain times with travel restrictions and COVID-19. What I can say to kick off from a perspective of NWO, what we are now working on is, for example, the science diplomacy cooperation that we have, which are workshops and seminars, and there are also proposals funded between Indonesia and the Netherlands this spring. We are now looking into working also with hybrid or completely online formats, like Winner is now online. So the funded proposals we can also go on in an online form, in an online way. So that makes it possible to continue the cooperation, to strengthen the collaboration between Indonesian researchers and Dutch researchers, also in times of travel restrictions, like we are doing now with Winner. So that is something, but at the same time, fieldwork, remote fieldwork or online fieldwork is something we have not discovered yet. That's very difficult to do. But maybe from our panel, there are suggestions how we can continue to strengthen the research collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands, also in times of COVID and travel restrictions. Maybe Dr. Puspita, you are back. Good to see you again in the panel. Can you maybe pick up this question?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, same with Pak Agus Saryono. Yeah, we are in the same hotel. We are in Yogyakarta now, and then also discussion about research on COVID-19. I think it's really very important to conduct research together to combat COVID-19. I also agree that we need from the the 0 point, yeah, to study the epidemiology of COVID-19, even in Indonesia or in the Netherlands. I think it's also important. I also encourage my staff to do that. We applying many research funding. Now there is a lot of research funding, even from LIPI, from LPDP, from EU countries. We can use that research funding to collaborate together. Yeah, that's the, I really encourage my staff also in LIPI to get to collaborate with with others.
Thank you so much. Maybe Pak Agus, do you want to add something?
Yes, thank you. In terms of situation in COVID-19 pandemic, we also changed our policy for the research topics. Even research topics from the researcher, we changed them to be researched in the digital research methodology or research from the field research into the laboratory research. So then the researcher can doing research in the same laboratory, and also for the field work, we try to train local people, then they can take data for us without our researchers have to go to the field like that.
Much.
Can I add something, Sebastian?
Sure, but we don't see you at the moment, but please go ahead.
Oh, really? Oh, why? Because let me...
Yes, you are back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My video is on. Yeah. Okay, so the question is related to fieldwork during COVID-19. So perhaps I can tell an experience, because I did a fieldwork actually in this March until June in Indonesia. So I go back in March for fieldwork, and I can go and I cannot go anywhere because of the pandemic, right? So luckily, again, I am in collaboration with the West Java government, and I need a survey to be distributed to people in the villages. So it's difficult, right, during the COVID-19. Luckily, they already have mobile apps that are distributed into the head of neighborhood in the villages. In such a way, I can embed it. We can embed the questionnaire on the mobile devices, on the apps, and the result is great. We expect to have around 200 response questionnaire, and then we have 4,000 something questionnaire, right? So it works. I mean, the lesson learned is that we need to embrace the technology, ubiquitous technology. In my case, online survey can be work, especially when you collaborate with a local partner with an apps that can be accessed by people that you're targeted. And also, you can use a ubiquitous technology like IoT, for example, research using a sensor that can minimize physical contact, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Back to you, Sebastian.
Thank you, Pak Iqbal. Maybe to turn this polemic, I will ask one or two short questions in the question and answers, maybe related to Tim and Professor Christens. I mean, here, but what do you think about including the general public policymaker to increase the impact of these research collaborations? Are they seen as a part of these research collaborations? And one of them is also asking about, is there any policies of possible Indonesian students waived their tuition fee or research fee if they study in Netherlands? Okay, maybe short comments from Tim and later on Professor Christen, please.
Allow me to address the last question first. The person asking the question is referring to China Scholarship Council scholarships. Well, to be frank, I think China has a very strong bargaining position because they managed to strike a deal in which all the institutions in the Netherlands, at least that is the case in Groningen, should waive the tuition fee. Of course, this then becomes an issue in the execution of the PhD projects, but I'm not privy to the details of the negotiations, of course, but I think the general quality of the group that comes to the Netherlands from China, which is limited, there is a cap, is the cause of the differing situation between Indonesia and China in this case. I can say that the tuition fees paid by the Indonesian government for PhD research in the Netherlands has enabled many projects to go ahead that would otherwise not have been feasible. So even these limited funds will buy the candidates consumables, lab time, you name it. So while I recognize that there is a difference here, I'm not saying that it's a good thing that tuition fees are waived because it limits the total number of projects we can execute. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, any comment maybe from Professor Kirsten?
Not with regard to the scholarship and tuition fee question. I think, Tim has taken that very well. And I think, that in generally then also is the position of other Dutch universities. With regard to including public and policymakers into our research collaboration, yes, of course, we are very interested. So we would want to see that our research results can be translated into policy and practice. And in that regard, of course, we would want to work with public and policymakers to ensure that, and ideally already have them included at an early stage when we are conceptualizing our research, so we can be sure that we are also tackling important questions that should be addressed, whether it is in Indonesia or the Netherlands or elsewhere.
Okay, thank you, Professor Kirsten. Still we have time, Pak Sebastian?
Yes, there's a final question because we are approaching 4 o'clock and 10 o'clock at the same time. So the final question is from Hesti Tata, and well, it's open to the panel. So who would like to go first? Please go ahead. And she asks, so far in my experience, usually developing a research collaboration with the Netherlands should be under the umbrella of an MOU between two institutions. Under a technical ministry, a research collaboration cannot be standalone as research collaboration. That is maybe it's not a concrete question, but do you maybe I can frame it like, do you need a MOU or do you need a framework agreement to start up a research collaboration between two researchers from the Netherlands and Indonesia? Maybe that is the summary of the question. Tim, please.
The general answer would be that we don't think of MOUs until we have to. And mostly things can start, and in Groningen we have the policy that an MOU will not be signed unless there is something concrete that we are working on. But mostly the real answer is the moment there are financial, personal consequences, substantial financial and personal consequences, an MOU becomes legally necessary. But I would encourage everyone not to wait for the MOU because there are so many cases in which they are just paper lying in a drawer somewhere. It's all about the discussions about what you are actually going to undertake. The MOU is just the rubber stamp, basically, for that process. Thank you.
Like to make a final remark on this? I think that Tim has summarized it for everyone. Don't go for an open MOU when there's nothing inside. Maybe Dr. Puspita. Yes, I see your hand as a final.
Yeah. Okay. I almost agree with Tim also that the most important, I think, is agreement, letter of agreement. It's really important. It's understanding between the person who will conduct the research. MOU, it's a long way, and then it needs. I understand that it needs a long time, yeah, to meet the MOU. I think very important is a letter of agreement first. Yeah.
Terima kasih. Yes. Well, if you look at the words MOU, you need understanding first and then the memorandum. Maybe that's a good sequence. So maybe it's good to wrap up because other sessions are about to start. I would like to thank all the panelists in Indonesia and the Netherlands. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your thoughts and the inspiration you gave us this afternoon and this morning. And of course, also all the participants. I saw over 80 participants in this workshop, which is great. So please, Pak Arthur, can you wrap up?
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Sebastian. I mean, thank you very much to all the panelists, Pak Agus, Bu Puspita, Pak Tim, and Mr. Kristen, and Pak Iqbal. Several smart remarks on this wrap-up is we know that a common goal, it should be as a basics for the research collaborations and answering global challenges based on trust and respect. Yeah, and this even in this pandemic era, we still can be productive using any part and putting the health aspect as the number one, but yet you can still be productive. And starting the research collaboration is in earlier stage, like Iqbal says, in the earlier doctoral degrees, and we have to maintain the network, the communications with local scientists and post-2 scientists. And furthermore, actually, we don't really need a MOU basic as a document. What we really need is much more active and real collaborations compared as the document itself. Maybe since time is up, maybe I would like to once again to thank you all the participants and all the Pak Sebastian also as the moderator of these sessions, Pak Agus as the speakers, Bu Puspita, Pak Tim, and Dr. Kristen, and Pak Iqbal, and the committee who has worked together to make sure this webinar could be conducted with successful. Is there any questions like previous mentioned could be emailed to Indonesia-NL@nwo.nl. Maybe Ibu Arina can answer it later on. Thank you very much. I'll give the floor back to you, Sebastian. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih, Pak Arthur.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Thank you. Thank you.